Hey, David, nice to see you again. How's it going, man?
Very good. It's nice to see you again and to catch up.
Yeah, we haven't talked for a long time, actually. I mean, we stay in touch, but we haven't been able to connect. I mean, I've been pretty busy, and I've had a lot of changes, and I know that you've had some changes too.
Yep.
Uh, and so today, in this podcast or cast, uh, I'd like to talk about some of those changes and and talk more about things from a health perspective. I know that we're both into finance and all, but and that's all well and good. And we can talk about that some other time. But without your health, everything else doesn't matter much now, does it?
I 100% agree, which is, yeah, it's funny because the podcast that I have is actually called Wealth and Health. And created that name like 3 or 4 years ago when I started posting the episodes. And I really don't think that you can be wealthy without focusing on your health first and foremost. And I see this happen all the time where people are so focused on making a lot of money, but then they take their health for granted. And I think I personally saw it when I was around 20, 21 years old and I started working as an investment banker. And I would look at the managing directors, and a lot of people were envious of them because they were making millions of dollars a year, but they were so incredibly unhealthy with the stress and their eating habits of eating at local restaurants every single day. And many of them were obese and they had like chronic illnesses. And it was just, I just looked at them, and whereas many of the other analysts wanted to be like them, I said, yeah, there's no way that I want to subject myself to this because you're kind of like turning yourself into a gluttonous pig.
Yeah. You know, what happened with me, and one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you about this was to tell you a little bit about my journey and then get your thoughts on it. And um, started in February and March. I felt, of course, I'm running this service, and I felt very sluggish. I felt like I was walking in mud almost, and almost on a day by day basis, it felt like I was slowing down. I literally felt like I was watching myself or feeling myself slowly dying. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
that's how I felt. And during the middle of the day, I would often fall asleep. I had all these issues. I had inflammation issues. My legs were swollen. My joints ached like anything. I had heartburn or acid reflux, and just this whole variety of different things. And even though I felt like I was in I was fairly healthy, not necessarily in good shape because I was way overweight. And if you go back and you look at some of my old videos, you'll see that I was much puffier than I am now. But I just felt like I needed to make a change, and it just hit me really hard because I wasn't able to get out of bed one morning, and I just said, man, do I have to get up every morning and then just do this routine just to get myself functional? You know, to like go up and down the stairs for the first time in the day, it was like a struggle. And so I felt like I needed to do something. And I didn't know where to start. And I started watching some YouTube videos, and I saw some on elimination diets, and that the problem with carbs. Most people were thinking that carbs were the problem, and I knew that was definitely the source of many of my problems because I was just a carboholic, big time. And I was actually up to 270 pounds. And but the thing is, I was almost convincing myself that hey, it's okay because I'm walking literally 14, 15,000 steps a day. I mean, who does that, right? And my heart rate was pretty good. It was steady heart rate in the 60s, so that's not bad, and low blood pressure. Although I'd noticed that my pressure was starting to climb up. For the longest time, my blood pressure had always been like 110 over 70, and then I went to the doctor a few times, and he took it, and it was like 125 or 130 over 80 or something. And I thought, oh, that's kind of odd. Why is it so high? He says, well, maybe you drank some coffee or something like that. And I said, no, it's really starting to creep up on me.
And just for a little bit of context, you said that at one point you were 270. How tall are you? So that way the audience can have a visual representation
I'm
of,
just under 5'10".
okay. And then Did you get labs done? Did you get like a high sensitivity C-reactive protein, like an HSCRP, or like other inflammation markers,
No,
or
I
no?
never did anything like that. I just had, the normal blood tests, the normal stuff that you would do when you have a physical.
Okay.
And there was never anything that was, that stood out.
Okay.
Some of my markers were maybe a little bit on one, on the edge of what was considered, it wasn't like right in the middle,
Yeah.
but nothing that was out of range.
Abnormal. Right.
But it didn't matter. I knew how I felt. I felt like I literally felt like I was slowly dying. So I decided to try this. Excuse me. The water went down the wrong side. So I decided to try this elimination diet, and I saw this video with Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan, where he's talking about the lion diet and talking about this story about his daughter, Michaela Peterson, who had
Yeah.
these autoimmune dysfunctions from the time she was very little. And I think when she was 16, she actually had to have her ankle and her hip replaced because of this severe kind of arthritic condition and all of these other problems. Anyways, she went on the lion diet, and she's been doing that since like 2017, and it cleared up all of her issues. And so Jordan Peterson did it too, and he actually convinced Joe Rogan to try it out as well. This lion diet. This lion diet basically is the eating of ruminant meat, which are animals that have multiple stomachs that generally eat grass or hay or something like that. And that include cows, bison, goats, deer.
Right. No chicken.
No chicken.
Right.
And then also water and salt. And that was it. And Michaela Peterson found this out just by fact of eliminating one thing after another until she came to those things. And those were the only things that she could survive on. So I decided to go down that route. And long story short, at this point, I've lost 55 pounds. And all these different issues have gone away. So I no longer have the swelling or the inflammation. General inflammation throughout my body is gone. Soreness of joints is gone. My acid reflux is completely gone. That's something that I'd lived with for like 20 years. And a whole host of other issues.
I have like a few comments. The one thing about eating a lot of meat is that even though it's extremely healthy, where you get like harnessine and glycine and creatine and things of that nature, which is actually something that many vegans or vegetarians you know they miss, because those type of nutrients are not available in vegetarian or vegan diets. The one thing is that they have something called like a glycine to methionine or methionine, or one of those, like those ratios. So if you're going to dramatically increase your calories from meat, I think it would be worthwhile to increase the amount of glycine that you take. Glycine, it's found in a lot of collagen, and it's very cheap, and it actually tastes very good. So I take about 5 to 10 grams a day of glycine. I just put it in my water or in my coffee because it tastes like not so much like sugar, but that'll help balance out like some of the because what happens when you eat a lot of meat is it stimulates your mTOR, which has been, from like all the research studies that I've read, it stimulates aging, and they have like things that that are supposedly like decrease mTOR stimulation, like rapamycin and things of that nature. But one of the easiest ways of like decreasing that excess stimulation is to balance out your methionine or your methionine. I don't know what the exact word is. Those ratios, and one of the best ways is to like increase your glycine, and you can get that like as a supplement. That would be
Would that be contained in? I've heard these other things that you can get that are similar, conglosamin and conjointin.
Yeah, that's for your joints and stuff. And actually, like glucosamine is like an anti-aging. Like actually, glucosamine. A lot of people, they've heard studies about that for like older people, like it helps with your joints, but it's actually very good, I think, in like lubricating your joints. And like I occasionally take it as well. Like I probably have too many supplements, so sometimes I forget to take things. I'm a little bit like OCD when it comes to that. But glucosamine, and I think sometimes they combine the glucosamine with like MSN, which is like it's like a sulfur donor. Like I forgot what the acronym stands for, but glucosamine is very, very good.
Hmm. Well, maybe those are things that I can try, but I haven't really seen any ill effects. All I see is just good things that have happened to me so far.
Yeah, yeah,
So I don't see any problems yet. In fact, I feel a lot younger. I mean, after losing 55 pounds, that's a huge weight off of me. And so I've done a lot of other things. One of the things that is a real benefit of losing that weight and then getting into a better spot is that you become more motivated to work out too,
yeah,
and to do things. And so I started going to the gym and started doing some strength training, and that's helped a lot to keep up my muscle mass. I've also adopted um, uh, barefoot type shoes.
Mm.
You
Like
familiar
the
with
Earth
those?
Runners, like the Earth Runner type, so that way
Yeah,
you get like grounded,
Like
right?
Vivo Barefoot and the Zero shoes. They have zero lift from front to back, and they're super flexible and very, very thin soles, so that and also a wide toe box so that it allows your toes to splay.
Mhm.
Because our current shoes, they really kind of squish your toes together, and they cause a lot of problems with people. And they also have arch support in which our feet don't really need. They kind of force your feet not to act the way they were meant to act.
Yeah,
And so I was thinking, man, if I'm going to be doing this and improving all these different parts of my body, I should start from the ground up.
yeah,
And you had mentioned when we were talking earlier, you had mentioned the knees over toes guy.
yeah.
And he's really into that whole concept of starting from the ground up and getting hip mobility and your knees, what he calls bulletproof knees.
Mhm.
I haven't gone so far as to really get into it. So far, it's just the Vivo Barefoot shoes and the hiking shoes that I'm using, and that's a whole new experience, man. Because I trail walk every day, and I have been doing that for like 25 years. But to go out into the trail where there's rocks and roots and all of this stuff, it takes a little while to get used to that extra pounding that you're putting on your feet, and then using all these muscles that you've never used before, because now your feet are left to actually be more sensitive to the ground and go with the curves and use the I guess the natural physics that your feet were designed to accommodate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's made another big difference in my life, and but now I need to get more into go a little bit further up from the ground up now and get to the knees and the hips part.
And as we mentioned when we were speaking earlier, walking backwards is one of the easier ways to do that, and that would be beneficial. I don't know if there are some flat areas on the trail, then you could potentially try that. But in general, it's probably
Might be a
better
little
to do it on like
dangerous,
a sidewalk. Yeah,
but you know
on
what
like
I
a
do?
sidewalk or
Yeah, when we start out with the walk, I have a very long, steep driveway, so I walk up backwards on the driveway,
Mhm.
and that's tough. Have you ever tried walking backwards for a little while?
Yeah, I have. I go to the gym in my community, and then I incline the treadmill, and then I use that, and I look like a crazy person, but I don't really care what people think as long as it's beneficial and it's helping. And I definitely notice that it strengthens up the parts of your body that you don't really use that often, and it's probably something similar to what you're experiencing when you're using like those Earth Runner shoes or like the Zero shoes, where it just feels awkward in the beginning because we're so used to wearing sneakers, and after a while you just get used to it, and it helps a lot.
Well, the sneakers, they put you on a platform, so your heels are way up like this. And apparently, what it does is that your calf muscles will start to atrophy
Yeah,
from that because you don't use them anymore. And also, you don't. use the natural spring that you have from the ball of your foot to the heel of your foot. Because when you use that and you land on the ball of your foot, apparently that goes and that will load up the pressure on your Achilles, and then your Achilles will kind of store that energy and then release it and allow you to propel yourself forward. But by having shoes that are essentially orthotics, which also almost seems antithetical to orthotics when you think about it, they don't really help people, use what their feet are designed to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, with that, now that you start walking like you were meant to, you start building up those areas of your leg that have more or less atrophied. And I've noticed that too. I've only been wearing them now for about 3 months, but man, the first couple of months, it just felt all the muscles in my lower leg were just so sore.
And what are the exact brand that you're using? Because I want to look into that as well. I used to have a pair of those Vibrams, but I don't know if I have them. Are you using Zero? What are they
Well,
called?
I have the Zero Primus, which is a more generalized, barefoot type sole, more like a sneaker with a flat sole. And it's a good looking shoe. And I get the black one, so it looks pretty good.
Okay.
And it's okay for some trail walking and walking on, and it's okay for running too, by the way. And then I also, and they cost about $99, 90 bucks, something like that.
Mhm.
And then I also got the Vivo Barefoot. Forgot what they're called. The Light Breeze, I think they're called. And
If you had to choose, if you
they're
had to
super
choose
expensive.
one,
They're super expensive. They're, for just a regular shoe, just a regular like walking around shoe or running shoe, that's about $150, $160.
hmm,
But it's much better quality, and it has good reviews that last forever, and people swear by them. But I also just recently bought their Tracker ESC, which is a trail walking shoe too, and it's good for for the winter time as well.
if you had to choose one, like between those two shoes, which one would you go with?
Um, just based on the quality of materials, I think the Vivo Barefoot is a better quality shoe. They tend to be a little bit more expensive, but I guess you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
The Zero, I've just seen a lot of reviews that say that they don't necessarily stand up to a lot of wear and tear,
Okay.
but they're very comfortable. I think they're a little bit more comfortable than the Vivo, but the Vivo just seem like they're better built. And
Okay.
I can't comment on the trail shoes yet, so they're coming in a few days.
And Vivo, is it VEVO or VIVO?
Vivo,
Okay.
yeah, Vivo barefoot.com.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so that's opened up a whole new world to me, and just and that's just part of what I've been doing. And then I read somewhere that you can be judged by your not your metabolic age, but your overall age by your grip strength.
Hmm.
So I've gotten into grippers now too, and trying to improve my grip strength. Have you ever used those? I mean, you've probably seen those things from when you were a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah, I've seen them, and also I hang from a bar. I have that in like my home gym, so I do that, and
So
I
how
think that's really important because I've read that where
so
there's a
how long
direct
can you hang?
correlation. A few minutes. I mean, like
Really?
two,
That's
yeah,
fantastic.
a few minutes. Yeah.
Because I think for I'm in my 60s, and so I think they say that the average hang time for that is about 40 seconds or something like that.
And
But for a 40-year-old, it's like 95 seconds or 90 seconds.
and hanging is actually not only is it good for your grip strength, but it's also good for your back because my back is not good because when I was working in an office, I would sit so much that it kind of compressed my spine.
Hmm.
So from hanging, and I can hang like many different positions. It helps to like decompress your spine, and I haven't had back issues since I started doing it.
So that's the next thing I have to get a hanging bar. I think I'll put it right over there.
Yeah.
Um, because I can't really do I can do a couple of pull-ups, but that's about it. And so that's like one of my goals. I want to be able to do pull-ups, and I want to be able to run, just run. Right now, I don't really run, I shuffle. And the reason why I shuffle is because I have a lot of visceral fat. And I think the visceral fat not only is inside of my gut and then pounding on my organs, but also inside of my legs. And it doesn't allow me to get the kind of extension that I need and the knee lift to be able to truly run. And so it's difficult. So part of what I'm doing in losing the weight is also trying to concentrate on getting rid of that visceral fat, so that and then working on that that mobility issue with the hips and the knees. And so if I can, like I said, ground up, maybe you go ground up and then top down, right?
Yeah. And so right now you're 210, right?
About 215.
215. And what's your target weight?
You know, that's a hard one. But when I was younger, I was always very fit. I was kind of a supreme athlete, and I played semi-pro baseball, and I ran every day, and I did all kinds of stuff. And I was 180 back then. So I'm thinking 180 or maybe even 175, because I probably don't have the same kind of muscle mass that I had back then. So
Okay.
yeah, 175. So that's another, it's another 30 pounds, 35 pounds that I
Mhm.
have to get to.
And how long do you think it'll take you to get to that level?
Well, with the diet, this ruminant meat diet, um, I've been losing steadily about 6 pounds a month.
Wow.
You know, I had 1 month in July where I just went sideways the entire month.
Yeah,
And
that's probably your body just adjusting to like a new homeostasis and like a new plateau, and then it seems like you work through that.
yeah, but I'm not really concentrating on losing the weight. It's just coming off. And the reason why I'm losing the weight is because my body, now that I'm not eating any carbs, has switched from burning glucose
Yeah,
to
burning fat.
burning ketones.
Right.
And so it burns, and the ketones basically burn my body fat.
Do you do like any exogenous ketones, like taking like caprylic acid or anything like that?
Nope,
No.
nope. Just red meat, man.
Okay.
Ribeyes, New York strips, and rump steaks.
And then so obviously like you're feeling significantly better than you used to, right?
um, like 1,000 times better. Like I'm a new person. You know,
That's awesome.
I used to fall asleep right in the middle of the day, and I told you earlier that I used to have this joke that I would play with the people in my service. I'd say that, well, I'm going to go practice my nap strategy. You know, because I would literally fall asleep from like 11 to 1 o'clock almost every day. I couldn't keep my eyes open. But
And I
now
don't, sorry.
now I am buzzing throughout the entire day. I mean, even now, I mean, I'm still going, and it's what 10 o'clock at night, and I feel like I feel like sparks are coming out of me.
I always think it's very important to focus on on the levers that are going to give you the best gains. But at the same time, I am like very OCD, so I don't want to bore the viewers in any way. But because your diet is so simple, where it's basically like meat, water, and salt, I think it's worthwhile to focus on both the water and the salt
Hmm.
component. The highest salt that I found is something called like Colima sea salt, because I think they actually test it for like microplastics. A lot of the salts that people buy, they do have microplastics in them. And Himalayan sea salt is also good. The problem that I found with Himalayan sea salt is that it's pretty high in like fluoride or like other or like some other minerals, like even maybe like some minor mercury. That's kind of why it has like a reddish tint. Actually, I have like a Himalayan sea salt, like salt lamp on it, like right now, and I don't know if you can see it, but
Yeah.
there's kind of like a slight like reddish tint.
Yeah.
And if you look at like some of the components or some of the analysis that they do on the Himalayan sea salt, and obviously like Himalayan sea salt is vastly superior to like the salt that many people are purchasing because it's just there in like trace amounts, like some fluoride or potentially some mercury or something like that. But the highest quality salt that I found, and it's not even that expensive, is just from Colima, like the Colima salt mines. I think they're in Mexico. That would be something that I would look at. And that's actually something that I buy. I buy Colima sea salt because it helps
I'll look.
replace
Yeah,
electrolyte.
I'll look into that. But I've been using Redmond.
Yeah, Redmond sea salt is also very good.
Yeah, ancient
Right.
sea salt, and
Yep. Yeah, Redmond is great. Yeah.
and
Are you getting like it looks like gray? I
yeah,
remember I
yeah,
would buy
it
like
has like
Redmond.
different
Yeah.
colors in it, and it's rough. It's
Yeah.
a rough
Yeah. Yeah.
salt. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Redmond is great. Colima is also very good. I mean, there's not really much difference between them. Colima is spelled Colima. The other thing is probably besides obviously like cutting out like seed oils, which I think is something that we definitely should touch on because a lot of people they're eating processed foods and then they're there's something in the omega-6. It's called linoleic acid, and like 100 years ago, our omega-3 to omega-6 ratios. Omega-3s are like the good fats. They're like the non the non-inflammatory fats, whereas like a lot of the omega-6 they're like already oxidized. So
mhm.
when your body consumes them, it leads to like systemic inflammation and it increases and like kind of like increases rates of getting like all types of diseases. So 100 years ago, our intake of omega-6 was very low, and now it's significantly higher with all the seed oils that we're eating, like margarine and the processed foods. Now, you don't have that, especially because you're not even eating chicken, because chicken is actually pretty high in linoleic acid,
Yeah.
because they feed them like a lot of grains and like especially like at the CAFOs and things like that. But the ruminants, um, they have very low linoleic acid in their meats. So your linoleic acid, your omega-6 intake is probably significantly lower, and that's probably one of the main reasons why you've lost the weight. The problem with the omega-6 is that it actually is used by your body and like comprising it and like creating some of your cells, and they're inflammatory. So even if you stop like, and you're never gonna like cut out all omega-6s, but even if you cut out the majority of it, like if you reduce your intake by like 70 or 80%, it still stays in your body by for about like two. The last research I've looked at is that it takes your body like 2 to 2.5 years to get rid of the omega-6s that you ate. So that's really really important that you're, especially as you get older, that you're cutting out the omega-6s that you used to eat.
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly because we ate a lot of fish, and I'm sure that there's mercury in the fish, and there's other things that. But we always tried to get fish from sources that we knew were good. We never would buy any kind of farm raised fish or anything like that. The wife made a lot of chicken dishes. We always made sure that they were also, like free range and organic and all that other stuff. I mean, she's very health conscious about stuff. So I don't think that I was really exposed to too much. Although as a family, we never ate red meat at all. So red meat is like I've gone on a red meat hiatus from the time I was 20 to the time I was 60. And then I just started to eat the occasional burger or whatever. It kind of grossed my wife out because she can't stand red meat. And now that I've gone to this full carnivore, lion diet, but she sees the results, and so she's happy that it's working out for me.
Have her eating habits changed as well, or not so much?
No, no. I mean, no, she's very happy. I mean, she's extremely healthy.
Mhm.
I mean, she's 67, man, and she's the picture of health. She, I say that I do 15,000 steps a day. She does 22,000 steps a day. All right. And she goes to the gym and works out. She bikes. I mean, and she's a spark plug.
What I would
Constantly.
have what I would have recommend doing it, and I think it would have just helped reinforce. And obviously, you don't need the reinforcement because you have, like you said, like, 1,000 times more energy, or you just feel so much better. But it would have definitely been way more interesting if right before you started, you got like a detailed lab work so that you could have seen like what your triglycerides were,
Right.
what like your, what like the ratio between like HDLs and LDLs. And I don't necessarily think that high LDLs are bad at all, because LDLs are used in like the composition of testosterone. So you could have got like a lipid panel. You could have seen like what your free testosterone is, like your T3, T4, your HSCRP, which basically looks at like your systemic inflammation. And I would have been extremely interested to see what your, to see like what your labs were like 6 months ago versus what they are now. Because I bet you that your biomarkers would have been significantly better now than they were.
Well, that's an area that I'm going to have to get up on, because I'm not really up on all the different markers that to look at. However, I did have blood work done just about a month and a half ago, and everything was within normal ranges. I don't know if they ordered the full complement of things that I might want to look at. Maybe that's something else that I need to research. Go to one of these outside firms that will do blood work and do a full panel, because it's hard to get that through your normal physician, if it's not within the menu of things that you can choose from your healthcare provider.
It's so funny that you mentioned that, because I I've had like a number of PCPs, and then obviously like for my son, when I go and like I want to get labs for him, the doctor that I go to, like, it's just like pulling teeth to ask for like something. And I'm just like, dude, write a script. It's like a diagnostic test. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't cost you anything. We'll just bring it to Quest and we'll get it filled, and the test isn't that much money. And then he's like hesitant to write things. But then for my doctor, for my PCP, I get labs done like every 6 months. I just have like a laundry list of about like 40 things. And I just tell her, and she's like, okay, yeah, no problem, no problem. So I really think it's predicated upon um, like the doctor that you go to, because some of them are going to be way more open, and others are going to like question you and be like, no, I don't feel like writing for that. And oftentimes, like what you're asking for is like a really inexpensive lab test, because remember, they're taking the blood, and if you go to Quest, like all they have to do is just look at the blood like a certain different way by running like a different test for it.
Hmm.
So oftentimes these tests are very inexpensive. Um, so yeah,
Are
I
there
would
any
look at that.
services that I could go to? I mean, or do I have to get another doctor?
You might want to look into getting a different doctor. But you can also just Google. You can get private lab work done. Um, I forget what it's something like in the Midwest. Like I forgot what the name is. It's escaping me. But there are like a few labs. I would Google like Paul Saladino, because you're basically doing like the carnivore diet. So I would just Google like Paul Saladino suggested lab work, and that way it'll come up with like a list of probably like 20 to 40 lab markers.
All right.
And then you can take that to your PCP, or you could go to a new PCP if you want to. If not, you can just get it filled. It'll probably cost maybe like $500, but in general, for like all those tests, they're not very expensive, considering that health is everything. And if
Sure.
you're worth, even if you're worth like billions of dollars, if you don't have your health in tip-top condition, look at the money that you would spend for the labs. It's like an investment in yourself that will pay significant dividends in the future. So, find a way to just Google that, and then get like a list of lab work, or the tests. Bring it to your doctor. If not, you can switch, or you can just get it done yourself.
So I told my wife that I'm on a long-term mission. I'm on a new race that I call the Centathlon. So what that means is that I'm on a race to get to 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is, um, and I think you are advantaged in that you live in the Northeast, so you have access to, and in general, like the waters around like Canada and around like, the New England area, they're pretty free from like PCBs and like a lot
Yep.
of toxins and things like that, which is potentially why probably the people in New England, they, besides like people down in like Louisiana, but they have like probably higher capita or higher than average seafood consumption when compared to like the rest of the United States, I would assume. Have you also looked into like water filters, like using like reverse osmosis filters or things of that nature? Are you filtering your water at all?
Yeah. So, first of all, we live in the middle of a wildlife sanctuary, and all of our water is well water.
Okay.
And it's pretty high in lime content, but we have filters in all our refrigerators, so it's all filtered. Although our one up in the kitchen stopped working, so I bought myself just the other day a Brita filter,
Mhm.
and so now we just fill up the pitcher and then use that. So we're filtering our water. We've considered installing, a whole filtering system into the house, but trying to figure out what you're going to get, and then the ongoing maintenance and cost of those things. I mean, some of them are just outrageous. I mean, you put them in, it costs a few $100s, but then you spend another couple $1,000s a year just on filters.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and what do you want to filter? You want to filter everything in the house, like even your shower water, or do you just want to filter the water coming out of the faucet?
Yeah, that's a great point. And again, for someone like me who's like OCD, I've probably spent way too much time researching water. I settled on, and I'm not on well water, I'm on municipal water. I have settled on just an express water whole house filter. It's about $450 from Amazon, and I change the filters like once a year or like every year and a half. So it's not really that
Oh,
expensive. And
and
then
what do the filters cost?
I think they're probably, I actually haven't changed them yet because I moved into a new house. So I don't know, but the filters are probably going to cost about 100 or 150 a year.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. And then I have one reverse osmosis, like just point of use in the kitchen, and that we use for drinking water. Now, in the old house, in the rental, and this is crazy how I'm like so OCD. I had like I connected like four filters.
You had them in
Um,
line?
yeah, exactly. In each shower. So and my wife looked at me like I was crazy, but
Oh yeah.
she knows how I am. So she was like, okay, whatever, like I'll deal with it as long as the pressure is okay. But I was like dead set on removing the fluoride. Now the chlorine is actually pretty easy to remove. Like you can get rid of like the chlorine or the chloramine. It's not that difficult. You use like a KDF like 85 filter and like the whole house filter, and it lasts for a long time. But the fluoride is very difficult to remove. Really, the only way to remove the fluoride is via like activated alumina, or you can use like some bone char, like activated carbon or activated charcoal is not going to get rid of it. You need like something that has like bone char, which is like
Or
it's like
diatomaceous earth.
yeah, but diatomaceous earth, it's kind of like it's hard to make a filter out of that because it's kind of like sand or like clay. Like when it gets wet, it turns into like a muddy substance, you know?
At
Um,
the back part of my property goes way back about 1,000 feet, and it then it interfaces with all this old farmland. And right at the back corner, there's an old artesian well, and it's all this cut granite. It's maybe, I don't know, 15 feet by 15 feet around and about 6 feet deep. And then the water is constantly bubbling up from the bottom, and you can see all the white diatomaceous earth coming up.
yeah,
So it's all getting perfectly filtered.
yeah.
And
And
I'm thinking, if I
diatomaceous
ever want water, that's where I'm going to go.
and the diatomaceous earth is perfect for like an organic pest control. Like I sprinkle that in like some of the cracks and the crevices in order to because what happens is it has like microscopic like silica, and for the bugs it actually like cuts up like their exoskeleton. So it's very good for like organic pest control. But
Wow.
I think in general for most people, and I've done it myself, even though I used to have like 10 water filters on each, or not 10, but like four water filters on each shower. I don't do that anymore because it was just a pain in the butt to maintain. And now I just have the express water filter as the whole house, and I have one point of use reverse osmosis. I also used to have a Berkey, but the problem with the Berkey is that they have something called like the um not KDF, but like their KDP, like their fluoride filters. It would leach like some activated alumina into the water. And I also used to use a water distiller, which is great. I mean, water distiller is very good for like a detox. The problem is that it's not very efficient. Like you have to, for it takes 5 hours for every gallon, and then you would have to manually like add the water after 5 hours, and then it's much
Is
easier just to
distilled water good
install.
for you though? I've heard that distilled water may not be too good for you.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things. I think overall, um, if you are concerned about that, you could just simply take distilled water and then mix a little bit of salt in there, so that way you get some electrolyte content and things of that. Because the issue with distilled water, from what I've read, is that it it kind of leads to like a osmosis like issue with your body where it's leaching like minerals from your cells,
Right.
because I don't know, like I'm not going to speak intelligently upon the science aspect, but basically it's like the difference between the gradients of like the salt concentration. But yeah, I mean, I used to use it, and I probably used it for a few years, and I never had any issues with it. But it was just too much of a pain in the butt to fill it up like every single day, multiple times, and it just took too much time. So then I just installed the reverse osmosis.
So I'll tell you another benefit of taking on this new thing. You know, this new charge of health and wellness, and it also extends to my not only my physical health but my mental health as well. They seem to be, symbiotic. But I've added that as part of the services inside of my business as well.
Oh,
Uh,
that's amazing.
yeah, yeah. So I have everybody, thinking about what their morning routine is, and that they're incorporating these types of things into their daily routines.
I definitely think that that's something that people are not paying as much attention to. And I think part of that is people just get into bad habits where they go to the grocery store, they buy like the same foods over and over, and it's hard for them to, and they also kind of accept that as you get older, their metabolism is going to change, that they're going to like start forgetting things, they're not going to have as much energy. In fact, so my dad is a doctor, my uncle is a doctor as well, my best friend is an MD as well. And when I would tell my mom that, oh, like um that this is happening or things like that, her response is always, "Oh, well, you're getting older, so that's expected." But I don't think that that's the case. I
Yeah, I
think that
don't.
as long as you take care of yourself,
Yeah.
then there's no reason why you can't be close to as sharp as you are at 60 as you were at 20, as long as your diet is great and you're taking care of your health.
Yeah, and the one thing that we haven't really covered that seems to be also important is that you continue the strength exercising.
Oh, 100%. And as we were mentioning before we started recording, sarcopenia, which is a decrease of lean muscle mass, and frailty, is one of the leading causes of death as you age. And I think I read where people either they lose like 1% of their lean muscle mass like every year over like 20 or 30. I don't know like what the exact what the I heard the statistic and I don't recall it exactly, but it's about like 1% a year. So I think that using um heavy weights
Hmm.
and trying to build up your strength and your grip strength and things like that, especially as you get older, are some of the most important things that you can do.
Yeah, are you familiar with Dr. Peter Attia?
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, because he's done a study on this, and I heard him say that people who break their hip or fall and injure themselves, either break a collarbone or break a hip, they're 30% more likely to die within the next year,
Mhm.
because they lose all of that mobility
The
and everything
mobility,
else
right?
slows down, and then they never can recover. And that's really, like you said, a stability problem, and being strong in your core and being able to keep your balance. He was saying that one of the most important exercises that you can do when you get older is just the ability to get up if you're on the ground.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yep.
Yeah. So he has this exercise that you do where you practice that. It's almost a skill. I mean, can you get up from the ground without using your hands, for instance?
Yeah, I've heard of that as well, and I think it's very important. I know that Dr. Mercola is very big on something called Katsu, which is like blood flow resistance training, blood flow resistance bands. And it's not inexpensive, but the good thing about that is you can use like relatively low weights, like low mass weights.
Mm-hmm.
And because it restricts the blood flow to your body, then it's it builds up that muscle in a small amount of time, and also using lower weights without putting a lot of stress on your body. So that might be something to look into for blood flow resistance training.
Kind of like micro dosing, but with weights.
Yeah, exactly. But you hook them up, and then it basically like restricts some of the blood flow in there. So you get like a lactic acid buildup.
Oh,
You
I
know,
see.
it feels like you're going like very, very hard, but instead of using like regular like 30s or 40s, you could be only using like fives or tens. And because of the lactic acid buildup, you're getting a significant increase in just muscle mass. That's again, I'm not an expert in like blood flow resistance training, but I think it has something to do with the lactic acid buildup and like pushing through that, and it seems to be working very well.
Yeah. So I guess the last thing that I'd like to talk about is the idea of monitoring everything that you do, and keeping track of it. And we talked a little bit about that, about your blood work, but just the more general things that are, easy to monitor, like your heart rate, your blood pressure, and that sort of thing. And I don't know if you noticed, but
Yeah, I saw the Aura ring, right?
yeah, the
Is
Aura
that
ring.
is that an Aura? Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
and at first I bought the Apple Watch. As a matter of fact, I've got it over here somewhere. Where the hell? Here it is. And I don't wear it anymore
Mhm.
because it has this sort of biometric thing in the back. The problem with it is that it's bulky and the battery only lasts like 10 hours, so I can't really wear it overnight, and I have to charge it every day. So it's really only good if I'm going out to work out. And who wants to wear something like this while you're working out?
Yeah.
But the Aura Ring, it does all of that stuff, and it interfaces with your iPhone or your Android, and the battery lasts for like 5 days, and it can monitor all sorts of things: your sleep, your heart rate, your HRV, your body temperature, and many other things. And so I keep real close tabs with that, and of course, right on my desk, I also have this for blood pressure,
Yep.
and I got a scale that uses electrical impulses to kind of tell, what my body composition is. Although I don't think that that's very accurate. And so I keep close tabs on all of that stuff. And the Aura Ring has really helped with my sleep. It helps me identify, those days where I'm getting good sleep or bad sleep, and whether or not my daily activity or the habits that I'm doing are positive or negative to the quality of my sleep. Because you want to get that enough of that deep sleep so that you have the regenerative powers from that.
And
So
is that the latest version? I think that they changed up their pricing plan. Like, didn't are they now charging like monthly? Is that like the
yeah,
new
it's
version?
like five
I've
or
heard
six
about that.
dollars a month. Yeah. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
got it before that, then you were grandfathered in, and then it's free,
Mhm.
where all the data is working for you. But
You think it's? I
again,
mean, look, it's a low price to pay, like $5 or $6. That's probably less than like a Starbucks. You think it's worth it, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it all goes on my phone, and I get good reports on it. Um, so last night my sleep was 94% optimal.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So that's pretty good. Um, and my resting heart rate now is at during the night is like in the 40s, 48. Not bad for an older guy. And I got my and I got my my blood pressure. Last time I took it, it was 107/65.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. My blood pressure is usually like pretty low. Like, yeah, sometimes it's like 95 to over like 60 or something. And then when I go and I give blood, they comment. They're like, "Oh, it's like very low." But I think as long as the bottom number is over like
It's the
55 or
spread.
60.
I think it's the spread that's important.
Okay. Yeah, I've never had like high, um, like very high blood pressure, which I think is, which is good. I would though, I would definitely recommend, I've made notes on like a few things that we said, like, the Vivo Barefoot, the Aura Ring. If I was in your situation, probably the biggest takeaway, and again, I'm not a doctor, I'm just someone who, worked myself to death when I was working as an investment banker and a nightclub promoter, and then I went to, started taking medication, and then I recognized, oh man, like my body's rejecting this. I'm very unhealthy. So I had to research all this stuff on myself over the past like 13, 15 years. And I think that if I was in your situation, really the only thing that I would do right now is to make sure that you get your lab work done. Um, labs like every 6 months. That's what I would look for, because you want to make sure that like your HSCRP, which as I said earlier is like a measure of like systemic inflammation. You want to make sure that that's very low, and then because you're in much better health now than you were 6 months ago, I think that if you get detailed lab workup, you'll be able to identify areas of weakness, and
Right.
then you should be able to target that to improve your health.
Good advice. I'm going to get right on it, David.
Yeah,
Seriously.
you could
As soon as
send
we
me a
hang up, I'm
text.
going to probably be online.
And I would Google like Paul Saladino because he's very good. Like the reason I like Saladino is he's not like
Well,
he's
he's changed his tune a little bit lately
yeah,
because he used to be strict carnivore or
now
lion
he's like
diet.
animal. Now he's animal based,
Yeah.
and I like that because look, and it comes back to trading as well. Like my trading has evolved over the past 3 or 4 years. Like just because I don't trade the same exact way that I did 3 or 4 years ago doesn't mean that I was like that I'm like that I'm worse off. I think that it's actually more credit to us that we can analyze something and say, hey, that we're committed to constant improvement, to constant learning. And
Yeah.
if we could take what we were doing years ago and upgrade it and change it based upon new information and based upon feedback from how we feel or like the results that we're seeing in like our trading account or in our health, then I think that that's a testament to us that we're open to new experiences and that we're open to learn. So I think that that's fantastic. But yeah, I would look at Saladino, like suggested lab work from Paul Saladino, because I know he's done multiple podcasts about that. And most of the labs that I request are from just simply like listening to his podcast and then pausing it and then writing it down in like a notes app and then bringing it to my PCP and getting a requisition form.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to work with my PCP. I'm going to probably have to go and buy one of those extended lab
Yeah.
workups. He's like an old curmudgeon, and he's a nice guy. I really like him, and I'd hate to fire him
Yeah.
because it's good to go in there and just patronize him. But
I think the labs, I mean, you can get it done at Quest, but I think like, yeah, actually, for some reason, I can't. Yeah, Great Plains Laboratory, Great Plains Laboratory is the one that I was thinking about earlier when I couldn't remember the name. The final thing that I think the majority of people should get, um, but and probably if I had to rank them, I would say like cut out processed foods, try to remove like excess omega-6, which are like some of the oils. Like if you're cooking, just use butter. You can use butter or even like coconut oil. So try to remove like those oils and cut out processed foods, like going to the gym and things like that are very
but
are
there's one
very
thing that you have
valuable.
to be careful about, because we're talking about cutting out seed oils. When you go to the restaurant, almost, and even if you ordered a steak, there's a
Yeah.
good chance that they're greasing that griddle with canola oil or something.
100%. And even if you ask for olive oil, or even if they tell you that it's olive oil, the majority of olive oil, maybe like 70 or 80% of that, is actually cut with inferior pro-inflammatory oils like canola and grapeseed oil or sunflower oil. So I would ask them, if you go to a restaurant, and yeah, it might be a little bit awkward, but who cares? It's your health, because we all know that people will make recommendations, but you are the one who's responsible for your health. If you decide to eat something or you decide to do something, then you're going to be the one who has to deal with the consequences, whether it's immediate or 2 to 3 years down the line. So
Mhm.
it's always better to take preventative measures. And just like you said, Ernie, most of and I actually don't really eat out at restaurants. I cut that out. I'd rather spend more money on high quality food like bison or like grass fed steak, as opposed to going out to a restaurant to pay 5 times more for inferior food.
I have yet to find a restaurant that can cook a steak like I can.
Yeah,
I even
yeah,
built, this is my office area here. It's actually a finished basement, and I created my own kitchen over here. I I bought like a Ninja grill. I even installed a hood, and I put up this stainless steel table like that you see in a restaurant.
hmm
I have my own station here, so when I want to cook my steaks, or if I can't go outside, if it's inclement weather, I can do everything right here.
And as far as where to get the steak, I would definitely frequent like a local butcher
Yep.
and build a relationship with them. Additionally, I know that Paul Saladino promotes them, and I bought and purchased from them, and the quality of their meats are amazing. There's a company um, in Bluffton, Georgia, called something, I forget what it's called, but I know that they're in Bluffton, Georgia. So if you wanted to
Okay.
Google like Paul Saladino, like, and I'm not promoting Saladino. It's just
Bluffton, Georgia, and mail order meat.
yeah, exactly. And it'll come out. And I've ordered from them multiple times, and the quality is very good. But now I just buy meats in Whole Foods or even at Walmart. Walmart has bison, which is very low in linoleic acid, and it's not very popular. But like a brick 1 pound meat costs, I think, in bison it costs about like $9, and
Yeah.
it's not bad. If you went out to a restaurant and you bought that same thing, they would charge you like $35. So spending a little bit of money on meat, and also remember, especially if you're going to be filtering your water. So let's say the reverse osmosis system cost you in total. I have a Home Master reverse osmosis system, so you could install that yourself, or it would probably cost you about $200 to $300 to hire a plumber. But let's say there's a $700 like installation in total for the system. If you cut out, like, I don't buy any orange juice, which is like $7 or $8. I don't buy any soda. If you will easily make back everything, it from a financial perspective, not even including from your health, because your health is going to be greatly improved, cutting out the high fructose corn syrup and things of that nature. But if you just spend like $700 and you drink just water, you will easily make more money by saving money,
Oh
by
yeah.
not going out and buying, like, drinking wine or drinking milk or drinking orange juice or things of that nature. It's actually a wise financial investment as well.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people ask, isn't that expensive? But it really isn't, because I don't buy all the other crap.
Exactly. Right. It's kind of like going back to what we were talking about earlier. It is basically like eliminating everything that doesn't serve you and everything that's not healthy. And I know I mentioned just a minute ago about milk. I think raw milk is okay. The only issue is that in many states it's not legal, so it is difficult to obtain raw milk. I know that when I was in California, they apparently passed a law where you can easily get raw milk,
Well, we
and
can
like
get raw milk here, but we can't get raw cream.
okay. So that's actually really good. I know in Florida it's a little bit more difficult. And I have to go to like a certain farm, and it's like 45 minutes away. So I don't, it's just kind of like too much of a hassle. So I don't do it.
But from my point of view, the raw milk that also has lactose in it, which is a just one step away from being fructose, so
Yeah. And a lot of people, they're lactose intolerant, and it is a milk sugar. And it is in many respects Now raw milk, I don't know if it's like I know that regular milk, for many people, it's pro-inflammatory. It is inflammatory. Um, Raw milk I've had a few times, and the people that I follow, they say that it's very good for you. I do eat a lot of raw cheese that I buy at Whole Foods. You can get like some very good quality raw cheese like Parmesan, etc.
Well, cream
So
cheese is also said to be good because it's less processed than most other cheese too.
mhm.
So that's okay. But I just find that just by limiting it, there's an expression that says, you either live to eat or eat to live, right? And people are asking me, well, don't you get bored with this stuff? And I think to myself, well, damn. I mean, would I rather not be bored and feel like shit, or would I rather, be bored and feel great?
Yeah, I never got bored, and people have asked me the same thing. I eat basically the same thing every single day, and I don't get bored at all. Now I have a diet that's pretty similar to Paul Saladino. Like I do eat like a lot of honey, and I eat a decent amount of fruit. I really like pineapple. Um, yeah, I like pineapple and I like watermelon, but yeah, I don't get bored at all. Not at all. And salt is really good. Salt
Yeah.
is amazing on the meat.
Well, and I think, did we mention Element as a
No,
supplement?
I don't think you mentioned it. No.
Yeah, LMNT,
Yeah.
and that will supply your electrolytes. It has salt and the phosphorus and the magnesium and all that, and so that's a good way to get your electrolytes in there too. So I added that in there as well. But
And I think
I feel great on this diet. I maybe at some point I'll go the Saladino route and add the fruits and the honey and the raw milk. Um, but I want to take it slow. I want to get to a point where I've resolved all of my physical problems, and it seems that
right.
I'm going on that route right now. I mean, I'm getting there, and then just for the sake of having a little bit of variety in life, I guess. And hey, it's hard to argue that there are some fruits that are just really, they taste great and they're good to have.
For honey, I use a company called Heavenly Organics because a lot of honey, it has high glyphosate residue. And I think Heavenly Organics, they test their honey for glyphosate. Sorry, again, I know I'm being like very OCD, but look, the reality is that um, your health is the most important thing, probably even more important than how much money you have in your bank account. Because if you
Mhm.
are healthy, you can always make more money. But if you're not healthy,
Right.
if you lack energy, then it's going to be very difficult for you to accomplish your goals. So that's why I'm
I would
so
also argue, though, that when you're in better health and you have more energy, it's easier to make money.
100%. I agree. So, and I guess the final thing is, I think saunas are really important. And there are some things that you can do. I know that there were some studies like saunas and like taking cold showers. I know that they did some studies, I think in like the 1950s or 1960s, where taking a cold shower can actually help improve depression symptoms. And also for someone who's looking to lose weight, cold showers will really help because it'll help convert some of the fat cells into something called brown adipose tissue, which has like higher mitochondrial density. And I know that I'm probably sounding like a nerd right now, but it basically converts the fat from the from like the fat cells that you don't want into like the fat cells that you do want.
Yeah.
And that will help you lose weight. And I have a cold plunge and I also have a sauna. And I built the sauna for like $250 just using like a grow tent and some like Ruby Lux bulbs. And if you want to find out how I did it, you can just Google like or you can go on YouTube best stock strategy um, best stock strategy like infrared sauna, and you
Okay.
can you can build a sauna for like $250. And then if you have any questions, just like text me, and then it's very easy. And the great thing about it is it's very portable. So when I moved, it was like super easy to move, and the sauna heats up in like 5 or 10 minutes, and you're just sweating buckets. And that's also a great way to lose weight.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was considering putting in a real sauna, you know,
The problem with that is it is expensive. It's like some
like
good
15,
saunas.
$20,000 for a good
Yeah,
one.
like the clear light or the jacuzzi ones, they're gonna cost you over like 5 grand. And then also it's like a pain in the butt to build it. You can literally build one in like an hour just from getting like a either a 3x3 or a 4x4 grow tent, and then getting some Ruby Lux bulbs and then putting it together. And it's also really good for your heart because you get those heat shock, like those heat reactive proteins, and they're very, very good. So saunas, cold plunges, just cold showers are fine.
Yeah, the cold shower thing. I heard that you can take a hot shower, but then in the last minute, just make it cold.
Yeah, yep.
I,
And the funny thing is,
I think that's a Wim Hof method, I, I believe,
yeah,
but I'm not sure.
the funny thing is, every single thing that we discussed here, if you're watching this or listening to this, if you actually implemented a lot of these things, not only will your health be better, but you'd probably end up saving money. Because think about it, and I'm not even talking about how much more money you would make from being more productive and from feeling better about yourself and getting more work done. But if you stop buying like milk, if you stop buying orange juice, if you just install the water filter and just drank just plain water, if you stop buying like a lot of the expensive stuff that many people buy, like the processed foods like cereal, which is like $8 to $10 a box, and instead you bought like high quality meats like bison or grass fed beef or ground
Focus
beef.
on shopping around the edges of the supermarket, not in the middle.
Exactly. If you did that, you would save money and you would also feel amazing. And these things, even like some of the more extreme stuff that we've talked about, like building a sauna, you can do that in like 3 to 4 hours. Like it's very simple on the YouTube video that I laid it out. And for me, it took me like 3 to 4 weeks of researching everything. I bought like so many different grow tents, but it's all there, So
I would go
you
for the Gorilla Grow tent.
that yeah, actually we spoke about that. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah. I have a
years
lot of
ago.
experience with grow tents.
This is so funny. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, because you mentioned the gorilla one, and I bought the gorilla one, and I think I settled on I can't remember the name. It's like in this moment it's escaping me, but I know I have it in like the YouTube video. But all these things, if you were to implement, you could probably make these changes in like a few weeks, and you would feel better, and you'd actually save money. And it's not really that hard to make those changes.
All right, so I'm on to the sauna. I have to call up the beef company in Kansas, is it?
It's in Georgia, in
Oh,
Bluffton.
Georgia.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to write it down to me and send it to me.
Okay.
And then what's the water filtration system that you're using?
Okay, so I'm using an Express whole house water filter. You can get that on Amazon. I think it's about $450. It's by Express Water, and it has very high reviews. So Express Water, and then for the reverse osmosis, I'm using something called Home Master. I think it might be one word or two words, Home Master.
Mm-hmm.
And for the farm in Georgia, I don't think you really need that. I think there's high quality meat at Walmart. Most Walmarts that have bison. The farm, is it White Acres? White Acre Farms? I'm not really sure. But yeah, you can just Google that and that would be fine. So all these things that we discussed are very easy to implement, and it would save you money, and it would also improve your health and improve like your energy levels as well. I'm gonna look into the Aura. I know I've been. Have you looked into like the Aura versus like the Whoop ring, or what are your thoughts? Or you just
No, I
feel
had
like
a friend that also had an Aura and he swore by it, so that's why I went with it. But I did a little bit of research and of course I bought the most expensive one because it looked better. They have 3 different colors. Then I bought one for my wife and now she's wearing it. She liked the gold one, so I got her a gold one. They
okay?
have the cheapest one is actually the shiny black. This is the flat black. And I think this is, believe it or not, this is the most expensive one just because it's flat black, I guess. But it's completely durable. You can swim with it, you can wash with it, you can do anything you want. It's incredibly tough.
And how much are they? Are the rings?
This one, I don't know, 450,
Okay.
$450, something like that. I mean, after tax and all said and done, it was probably $500.
Okay. Cool.
But being able to monitor this stuff on a daily basis and knowing exactly where you are each day and how your progress has been, and I can see, progress being made over time, that I'm doing the right thing. I like getting that kind of biofeedback. It makes a big difference. You know that you're on the right track.
And the reality is that if you get sick, then you don't want to play catch up and try to heal yourself while you're sick, because going to a doctor, getting one procedure can cost thousands of dollars. So it's always better to take preventative measures than it is to only deal with things once they are an issue.
Yep, absolutely. Well, David, this has been an enlightening conversation. I hope other people have benefited from what we talked about. I mean, that's really the real purpose of doing it in the first place, right?
I agree.
I am still on this journey, and I plan on seeing it all the way through. It's no longer like a destination. It's a lifestyle that I've adopted, and it's actually one of the easiest things that I've ever done. I'll tell you, doing the carnivore diet is the easiest diet that I have ever done, because most other diets, they keep you feeling perpetually hungry. Where this diet, you're always satiated and you feel full, and then you get all the results, and then that just sort of feeds on itself and makes everything better. I'm not trying to like push it on everybody on, this is what you should do, but I'm just saying that that's been my experience and the experience of a lot of people. And it just fixed a whole range of issues for me. It was just incredible. That I've
The
been
reality
suffering
is
from for a long time.
the hurdle of actually trying this diet is extremely low. Like there's not
Right.
really many barriers to entry at all. I mean, basically, most people, unless they're like vegetarian or vegan, they have some meat. I'm sure almost everyone has salt in their home and water. I mean, they have that as well. So it's not something that they could try it tomorrow and try it for a few days and then just see how their energy levels are. And if they don't like it, then they can go back to what they were doing before.
There
No
is
harm.
there is a small caveat to it though, and although I didn't experience this, a lot of people that switch over to carnivore experience what they call the carnivore fever, or you might have a bout of diarrhea, or actually get a fever for a few days, but then you get over it, and then once you get over it, everything is hunky dory. But I never felt that, and I think it's because I made kind of a slower transition. I started to eat meat more and more, and then finally made a switch over.
All right. So yeah, this was very enlightening. I don't even know what time it is, but I think it's pretty late because we've been
Yeah, it's
on
a
here.
long. Yeah, it's a long one.
We've been on for a long time. So all right, Ernie, it's always a pleasure. Let's catch up. Maybe like 3 to 6 months or so. We can check on your progress and also discuss trading as well. As always, I mean, we've known each other, and man, it's coming up on, like, I think it's probably over 5 years that
Yep.
we touch base. So yeah, so we're friends, and we root for each other, and let's touch base in like a few months, and we'll do another one. All right.
Thank you, David.
All right, Ernie. Always a pleasure.
Bye.